This episode includes discussions about mental health concerns such as depression and anxiety. If you or someone you know needs help, reach out to a mental health professional or text 988. Has this ever happened to you? You work really hard to catch up so that you can go on vacation. It's a dream trip. Someplace you always wanted to go. The scenery is spectacular. You're with people you love. But when you look at the landscape or the priceless work of art in the museum, you feel nothing. No excitement, no joy. You are devoid of emotion. Mental health professionals have a name for that. It's called anhedonia. It happens when people have trouble feeling and experiencing positive emotions like joy. And while anhedonia can be a symptom of serious mental health concerns, people with even mild depression and anxiety also struggle with it. Then, emotions like joy can be hard to come by. Associate Professor Karen Beard teaches positive psychology in educational administration in Ohio State's College of Education and Human Ecology.
A definition of joy. It's a lot like trust. You know it when it's there, and you also know it when it's not there.
It's the holiday season. We're just off another contentious political campaign. People are worried about climate change and war and paying for health care.
This time of year makes me extremely anxious, slightly depressed. I do not feel joy like thinking about this time of year. It's truly the worst time of year. I've hated it since I was a little kid.
I'm depressed. I mean, my heart kind of hurts a little bit because of this election. And I don't know how else to express that except to say, I do not like where our country is right now.
And now we're witnessing the climate crisis hit many Americans, like in Florida, in North Carolina. People were ripped away from their homes. This is a whole new level of trauma.
For some people, it's hard to muster any fa la la or genuine feelings of joy. But here's some good news. Experts say that almost anyone can train themselves to notice and savor positive emotions like joy, effectively reconfiguring what's called your reward sensitivity. And research shows that recognizing and fostering joy can have beneficial effects on your mental health.
Joy. A little like the sunshine. When you see the sun in the morning, you're happy to see it. But when there are clouds out, the sun is still shining, and that's the joy. You know that it's still there, it's just obstructed from your view. And there's something settling about knowing that the sun is still there and it's still shining, but I can't see it right now in my circumstances.
In this episode of the Ohio State University Inspire podcast, we consider ways to find that elusive and coveted emotion we call joy. We talked to Beard and to Dean Don Pope Davis, a counseling psychologist, about joy's relationship with other positive emotions, including gratitude. And we ask students how they cultivate joy, helping contain negative emotions that could bring them down. I'm Robin Chenoweth. Carol Del Grasso is our audio engineer. Maya Stepnick and Jason Amo-Mensah are our student interns. Inspire is a production of the College of Education and Human Ecology. Joy is among what psychologists call discrete positive emotions, distinguishable from other emotions, but also difficult to describe and hold on to.
To actually put words to what it is, I can tell you it's different from happiness in that I think it's a much more mature sister to happiness or cousin to happiness. Joy is a much more mature place of understanding your purpose, and you can be joyful no matter the circumstances. I think happiness sometimes is more circumstantially dependent than joy, because joy, once you've identified your purpose and your goals, and you are making those intentional decisions to move towards those, happiness is almost of no comparison. And then when you get to that place of joy, you can be joyful even when your circumstances are difficult.
Indeed, theorists say that joy is more likely experienced by people who have a clear narrative identity, a kind of internalized self-story that helps them make sense of their life experiences, beliefs, and goals. In other words, people who have defined their purpose. And that purpose is often rooted in something outside of themselves. Beard recently helped organize a conference for education administrators on justice and joy.
I was charged with planning this conference 2 weeks after the election. And people are going to have strong feelings one way or the other. Our themes were joy and justice. And we initially started with justice, because we're on the end of the 70th anniversary of Brown.
The landmark Supreme Court ruling that declared racial segregation of public schools unconstitutional.
So that was going to be our cornerstone. And we decided midway that we were going to flip it and start with joy. And what we chose to do is really put our focus back on children, where our work situates. It really is a matter of focusing on those things that matter the most, and those are not trivial things. When you have purpose, when you're focused on your purpose, all of the other things line up.
Researcher Philip Watkins writes, when events are consistent with one's life plan or purpose, they bring joy. And the moment is especially sweet, Watkins says, when redemptive suffering has occurred. Here's Don Pope Davis, a psychologist and dean of the College of Education and Human Ecology.
One of the examples I think of that I look forward to in our college is graduation. You see these students who have had different journeys to this moment. It's almost a spontaneous conversion of the spirit. Not to deny that the road has been long. You hear the shout-outs. You hear the emotional response, the joyful response from the community and the individual and their families, because it is an historical moment, and we cannot underestimate the importance of that opportunity. And I sometimes wish the entire college could be there and see that, because in those moments, I say to myself, I know why I am here. Regardless of how I got here, my purpose is to be here in this moment and celebrate that, because I can have joy from somebody else's experience. That's transformative for them. And so joy is not a personal thing that I hold on to. It's the ability to embrace it with others, even though we may not have a personal relationship.
Sounds like it's contagious.
For me, it is.
But graduation ceremonies happen once a semester. How do you find joy in everyday moments, building up to those bigger events? And it can be easy to get off track or to get discouraged. You're looking for joy and you're not necessarily finding it. It's an effort.
Right. You asked the question, why is joy elusive? Mm-hmm. And I think that is very much what you're getting at.
Right.
So joy can be elusive, especially when we get caught up in the busyness of our day-to-day. But the way to re-anchor or to recenter is really to be intentional about our focus and what it is that brings us back into our place of purpose. And sometimes those are daily reminders. Sometimes, those are practices like yoga, prayer, those things that help you to reconnect and realign with, if you'll allow me, with your center and your spirit, because that's where your joy lives.
How do you minimize the distractions that cause you to move in a different direction? I think in terms of the analogy of Sisyphus, who wakes up every morning and has to push this rock up the hill. And along the way, there are distractions to that cause. That's an analogy for some of the challenges we face as we try to recenter every morning. And we look for those moments and those opportunities of joy and engagement. And there are distractions that don't add to that, but take away from that. And so one way you can achieve that balance is making sure you surround yourself with the right people. You put yourself in that situation that the joy and the moments of contentment continue to elevate even in the presence of difficulties.
Inspire intern Maya Stepnick asked fellow students about how they cultivate joy.
My name is Yue Li. I'm a second-year PhD student in literature for children and young adults.
How are some ways that you are able to channel joy, or is it sometimes hard for you to do that?
For me, because I'm an international student, I'm far away from family, so sometimes it's easily to feel homesick. But luckily, I have a pet cat. Cats know how to take care of themselves. I even wrote a poem about how to live like a cat and learning from a cat in 13 ways.
Oh, I love that. What were some of the ways that you had there?
Playing with the feather, with the balls, with everything she can find, and playing with the people. My cat loves to go outside and chase squirrels. Yeah. And sometimes just watching her sleeping calms me down because they're just so cute.
My name's Eva. I'm Hallie.
I'm Claire.
Something I do is hang out with my family. I'm with my sister right now, and it's helping me because I'm really stressed for exams, and I don't know, just my family and my animals. Just think about them, and it helps me a lot. Yeah.
We're roommates, so we watch movies a lot together when I'm stressed because I have exams every day. So we hang out and we watch movies.
Say, if you're feeling a certain emotion, what are movies that you would pick to help with those emotions?
I am always going to pull up a romance movie.
Yeah.
Potentially a Christmas rom-com.
Yes.
I love it. And we watch It Ends With Us 2 days in a row. We watched it 2 days in a row. And the Noah Beck movie that just came out. For a giggle because it was really cringy. But it calmed me down because I was it could be worse.
That joy is less about kitten acrobatics and rom-com giggles and more about the relationships that those moments foster with people or creatures. And that's consistent with research on joy. Watkins writes that joy is vital to human existence because it is fundamentally about connection. He talks a lot about those connections and strengthening the bonds and reinforcing important relationships. And then that reunion with someone you haven't seen for so long, how it's an association with goodness, something that we've hoped for a long time. Yeah. And now it's finally coming to pass. Those are moments when we might feel joy.
I have friends I don't see every day. And we can pick up the phone and it's like time is irrelevant. You pick up from that last moment and there's a joy because there's a connection, there's reunion in that. And so it's a positive encounter. And after that call is over, you feel renewed for a time because its ability to sustain you is very important. And so when Watkins talks about the reunion aspect of it, for most of us, the reunion is an affirmation of a positive and a joyful moment that allows my spirit to be elevated and to become recentered again.
In positive psychology, there's all of these constructs that have all of these intermingling pieces like joy, and relationships is one of the big ones. But one construct of well-being is the PERMA construct.
A positive psychology model of well-being that includes positive emotions such as joy, but also engagement, relationship, meaning or purpose, and accomplishment.
And at the center of that one is relationships. And the quality of relationships that you bring into your life really dictate more of your personal joy than the quantity of relationships that you bring into your life. And so fostering rich relationships and having these moments where you have these close friends that you can connect with and not see for 20 years and then reconnect and it's like you haven't missed a beat. Those are the kind of relationships that make your life feel much more meaningful and provide a greater sense of joy. Defining your purpose, finding meaning in the things that you do, and building strong relationships, those are probably cornerstone to creating more joy for yourself.
But research points to another factor that engenders feelings of joy. A study by Watkins considered individuals' joy over time and found that gratitude predicted increased future joy. Not only that, but joy predicted increases in gratitude as well. It's almost like that double helix that you see with DNA when one wraps around the other. The two kind of almost work hand in hand.
So gratitude is more of a focus on what's going right and what has been right. And again, it's realigning your thinking so that you are focusing on the positive and focusing on the things that bring you joy and saying thank you in a very deep way because it means something to you.
Watkins talks about joy is related to gratitude and spirituality. You see something in the world and it transforms you in an emotional way. The challenge is it is sometimes right in front of us and we're looking for something different.
I think of a scripture all the time when things are not going well. And it's a scripture in James, and it says, count it all joy. Because everything you're going through, everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, is bringing you to a higher elevation and place an understanding of your purpose and your role. And it also gives you empathy for the next person who's going through so that you can be a positive force for them. I'm grateful for the journey that brought me to the joy. Once I get to joy, I'm not grateful all the time going through it. But when I get there, I can look back and be extraordinarily grateful. When you ask if it's contagious, I want to help somebody else get through it because I know how daunting it can be, how easy it is to give up, how challenging rainy days can be consecutively in Central Ohio. And just knowing that the sun really is out there somewhere, just encouraging someone else to keep going can also be contagious, as you spoke about joy being contagious. But that gratitude is the thing that makes you turn back and say, I'm glad I went through it. And I'm glad my journey took me the way it took me, even though it was at times extremely hard.
There is a faith tradition where people are suffering and in the moment they pray and they reflect and they sing praise. And you can sense the spirit of joy and comfort in those moments, even though their predicament may not change in the immediate situation. And I think that's an example of having joy in the moment. But it has to be an intentionality in that effort.
It's almost like a mindset that you have to have in order to build on that, in order to feel the joy.
It's definitely a growth mindset that you have to engage in, especially when you're going through a process, a difficult, challenging process, that you have to keep a growth mindset and be willing to continue to learn from it.
And researchers are discovering that the mind can be trained to find joy if you are willing to pay close attention when that emotion wanders your way. This strategy involves intentionally and routinely focusing and dwelling upon something that went well, or felt good, or was beautiful in your day. Think of Yua Lee gazing at her slumbering cat.
And sometimes just watching her sleeping calms me down.
Or watching children find their own joy. It can be recognizing a beautiful pattern in nature, or spending time with a trusted friend.
Like when you see friends that just fill you with joy and nourish you and you leave feeling recharged and like yourself instead of drained, you literally feel like there's light in your chest, and that's healing.
Psychologists recommend closing your eyes and recounting the joy while focusing on the details. Social scientists call this relational savoring, and studies show that it can prolong positive emotions like joy and lead to recognizing them more often. And that can translate to better mental health. So our experts' advice on finding joy: define your purpose. Find meaning not just in the big moments, but in the day-to-day miracles. and build strong relationships that will help you weather the tough times. Remember to cultivate and express gratitude. And because art often mimics science, and science mimics art, we leave you with Ohio State's Charlotte S. Huck Professor in Children's Literature, Jonda McNair, reading Joy Comes Back by Donna Ashworth.
When you finally realize that joy is less fireworks, more firefly, less orchestra, more birdsong, she will come back much more often. For joy will not fight with the fast pace of this life. She is not in the shiny or the new. She breathes in the basic, shimmers in the simple, and dances in the daily to and fro. Joy has been beckoning you for many a year, my friend. You were just too busy doing to see. The very next time joy wraps her quiet warmth around you, as the garden embraces your weary body in its wildness, tip her a nod. You cannot force her to stay, but if you are a gracious host, joy comes back.